Hey everyone, there's been 2 updates in the video generation AI space this week. I thought you might want to see these. In fact, the first one, can you tell? This mustache is not real. AI is amazing. No, I'm kidding. But there are 2 things to show you. Which one do you want to see first? Let's flip a coin. We have heads or tails, or in Canada, as we like to say, queen or duck. Duck. Runway ML released the beta to their new feature, the motion brush. I covered this feature last week in a "is it too good to be true" type of video, and now it released. The truth is, yes, it's not that great, but it is pretty cool. I'd love to know what you think of it. Let me show you how it works. You can find it in the normal video generation page where it's text and image to video, where you could do text, you could do image, or you could also include a description with the image. That I haven't found much success with, but maybe I'm just missing something. Anyways, it's right down here, the motion brush beta. Control a specific area with motion brush. Brush over an area to apply motion controls specifically. You don't need to be precise. Specifically, don't be precise. Anyways, down here they have a little slider to make your brush smaller or larger, but as they said, you don't need to be precise, so you can just leave it in the middle. And you're just gonna sort of paint the areas that you want to start moving. In this case, maybe I'll just include the people in the background, try and get some ambient movement, something like that. I don't know. Let's just try it out and see. But down here, you do have a few sliders. And after spending $15 to try this out a bunch of different times, I have some tips for you. These sliders are not referring to intensity. So -10 horizontal does not mean the image is going to stay more still. This literally refers to moving to the left. If you have it at -10, any of the movement is going to shift to the left. Probably not what you're going to want. So leave it somewhere in the middle. And I suggest the same with the vertical, but you'll notice here that you can't continue without making some adjustments. So you do need some sort of horizontal or vertical movement, but that's not necessarily true because you can change the proximity slider. Not that this is really clear anywhere, which maybe that's something they could do a better job of, kind of explaining what these tools actually do. But my understanding is that the proximity slider determines how far away the movement can expand from your original selection. So if you move it all the way to the left, I'm pretty sure only what you painted will have motion to it. But if you move it all the way to the right, again, I'm pretty sure that the motion can now expand past what you've painted. And maybe that's not exactly what you'd want. So I'll leave it at like 1.7. Let's just try that. You'll hit save. Now this is where you can also add some camera motion, which is a pretty cool idea, moving the entire camera horizontally, vertically, rolling it, or zooming in and out. All of those can be pretty powerful, and you can select the speed at which the camera makes its movement. But for now, let's just generate and see what the motion brush does on its own. One of the bright sides of this, one of the benefits, is that it really doesn't take that long to generate. I mean, maybe a minute or 2. You are only getting 4 seconds of motion out of it, which is sort of like a GIF. Very cool technology, but I'm not entirely sure why you would use this. I mean, I do have some ideas for it, but in terms of making a movie or anything like that, no, we are not anywhere close to that. But it's done. Let's take a look. Okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. We have a character blinking pretty realistically, head movement, hair movement, the shadow moving down the street. Okay, maybe there's a character walking in the background, like that's okay. And instead of doing this whole process again, or let's say you went on to create another one, but you wanted to edit this one, you can't edit this generation directly, but you can go up here to reveal prompts. That will show you what you used, whether it was upscaled, interpolated, the specific settings you used, but you can just click the reuse this button and that will load everything back down here. This is the motion brush icon right here. And now let's add some more proximity. And you know what, camera motion, let's zoom out and see what it creates. The camera motion does add quite a bit, adds a lot of depth to the scene as you might expect, but the image itself gets quite distorted. I'm not going to critique this too much, it really is like an infant, if you will. I know that this technology is going to get better, and because of that, I feel like you can cut it some slack. As long as you go in with the right expectations, this type of technology can be a lot of fun. If you have high expectations, you might be disappointed. It's as simple as that. But let me show you some of the other generations I made and you might be a little more impressed. This one is quite subtle, but the waves are crashing around her. It could be pretty powerful. This one added a little more movement, but her head kind of gets distorted. I guess what's really impressive is how the AI knows what's in the picture in the sense of how the water actually moves. I think that's a pretty big step forward in the grand scheme of things. I think this one turned out pretty well. And maybe just picture this being a few seconds longer to where you can't really tell where it starts and finishes, and then having that on a digital picture frame. That could be a pretty cool piece of art to show off to your friends and family. Just thinking out loud, you know? This one is extremely subtle. In fact, when I made it, I had hoped her hair would be fluttering a lot more. Maybe I just screwed up with the painting of that. This is pretty cool. Like, look at that splash around her back. That's amazing. This one I thought turned out great. Ignore the faces, I mean, don't zoom in, it's kind of nightmare fuel. And this is an old MIDJOURNEY image, but the way it gets the motion of the background and the trees, it's so cool. And what I think you'll notice is that the more subtle the image, the stronger the effect is. Is that a good way of describing it? Okay, take a look at this one. It adds her feet moving forward. Like, that is such a cool proof of concept. I didn't direct it to do that. It looks quite janky, to be fair, but that's still really cool to see from a 2D image. Super subtle. Look at that small shake on the left side of the screen. Arguably, you might not even be able to tell that it's even moving. But then with too much movement, you get something like this where she starts to melt, sort of. But like, look at the depth, the layer of movement behind her. That's insane. This one's amazing. Maybe I'm just a fan of how the water moves and how those reflections of light also move and wave with the water tension. Like, how does it know how to do that? And earlier when I was warning you about the horizontal movement slider, this is kind of what I was referring to. If you include any horizontal or vertical movement, parts of the image are going to start moving in an alien-like way. It's not very attractive. But then you have something like this, and that is so pretty. Okay, don't stare too closely at this next one. It's a nightmare. Maybe this will be a good tool for creating some sort of creepypasta horror stories. You could get a few scares out of doing something like this. Oh, this is the one I wanted to show you, with the fish. I knew this image had a lot of potential, and sure enough, the AI was able to recognize the fish that were surrounding her and navigate them in the scene. And look at the water on the bottom. Like, that looks so real. So real. Surreal? Unreal? All kinds of real. Okay, maybe I tempered expectations when I started this video, but over time, I am realizing just how many cool things you can make with this. So maybe I do have a soft spot for this technology. Okay, now on to the head, or the queen. Introducing Prome AI. I've never talked about this website on my channel before, but they've been around for a little while. They have quite a few features: sketch rendering, creative fusion, photo to sketch is pretty cool, erase and replace, image variation, you know, the usual AI art generator stuff. However, they very recently released a text-to-video generator. Full disclosure, they gave me access to this while it was in beta, and I do have a referral link that will give you 100 free credits if you want to try it yourself. But this video isn't sponsored by them or anything. I wouldn't show this to you if I didn't think it was pretty cool, but I had to let you know that they gave me access to it. Now, what do you see here from my first generations? The first thing I noticed is that these still frames look very real. Very real. Now, I want to temper some expectations because the resulting video isn't amazing, but I think this is a pretty good start, if you will. Let me show you these two hedgehog creations. First of all, I asked for a watercolor painting because I didn't really know what it was capable of at the start, but you'll see down here, right now the only model is photography. So you can't create anything that doesn't look photorealistic, which is a good and a bad thing, but I can only imagine that they're going to add more styles in the future, and that could be pretty powerful. Now here's the hedgehog morphing in its own right, and I think it looks okay. This one is so pretty until these other presents start moving around. And that's a pretty good example of what you're getting with this generator. But then look at this one. Just look at the still frame. An alien UFO landing on a pier at sunset. I think the promise of this video looks pretty good. And then you get to see it in action and it gets a little wonky and a little wobbly, but it's still pretty cool to create a GIF, you know, just using words. And then these karate poses up here. Looks fairly real at the start, but you'll see it's hallucinating, it's AI dreaming, it's young, and it's not that great. This hockey goalie I thought looked so real. And then you see it in motion and it's the same story. This guy just appears out of nowhere. I mean, that car looks amazing. I try to get it to transform into a robot and no, it doesn't quite do that. Try to get a pirate walking the plank. Is not the best. I'd say this Pikachu one turned out all right. Turned out all right because then look, it evolves some sort of donut type thing. I mean, the lightning looks pretty cool around it. And I guess the real question or the real promise of this whole thing is that where is this going to be in 6 months or in a year or in 24 months? Take a look at this Spider-Man frame. That does not look good. But in the video, you'll see some potential. Like not good, really good, really good, not good, really good. You see what I mean? I'll share this link in the description. You'll get 100 credits. I'll get 100 credits. If you want to play around with this yourself, go right ahead. And keep in mind, there's a bunch of other services available as well. I'm not endorsing Prome AI as a product. If you happen to be interested in some new technology like I am, maybe you want to give this a shot. Completely up to you, no pressure at all. Hey, there's a recap of what's new in the video AI generation world. If you want to help the channel, you can click the like button on this video. That would really mean a lot. I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.